What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about what do Canadians really think about the British monarchy and the fact that Canada is still kind of a part of it. So are Canadians kind of proud of this? Are Canadians like, whatever, like, who cares? Or has it come to the point where Canadians are like, Canada has been its own country for quite a while now, and it's time to maybe let go of that part of the past? I'm very curious what Canadians think about all this, because as an American, it's really not a topic I know anything about and not really something I can relate to on any level. So I actually want to start out by making sure I understand what I'm talking about, which I very, very openly will admit maybe I've got it wrong, but Canada's constitutional monarchy. So, Canada is a constitutional monarchy. The monarch is the head of state, whose powers are defined by the Constitution and constitutional conventions. These responsibilities carried out by the Governor General, the monarch's representative in Canada. So, Canada is technically a constitutional monarchy. The king, King Charles, is literally the head of state of Canada. I believe there's, British royalty. Maybe, gosh, is Queen Elizabeth on the Canadian currency even? There's still pretty, meaningful, important ties between Canada and the British Empire by the stat, from what I can see. So, yeah, I feel like with Queen Elizabeth maybe passing not that long ago, a lot of countries around the world were starting to open up this conversation. A lot of countries that were still kind of tied to the British Empire, maybe they had the UK flag on their flag, and some countries around the world were talking about, okay, maybe with Queen Elizabeth passing away, maybe it was time to put this chapter behind them. And I think Canada ended up staying pretty much the same in that regard, I believe. I don't know if Canadians had any thoughts on it, or if Canadians are perfectly happy the way it is. It's kind of maybe there's some kind of nice part of this tradition that Canada enjoys being a part of. The monarchy in Canada, so the head of state is King Charles. Yeah, so this is a big point here. It's that the monarch's powers and responsibilities are limited by the Canadian Constitution and other laws. Basically, King Charles can't pass any laws. He can't actually do anything to Canada. It's not a meaningful relationship besides the tradition and the respect that is there. That's kind of, and the representation perhaps, and that kind of thing. There's no legal ramifications to King Charles. He doesn't have any power to really do anything. So that's maybe an argument for why change it, or I'm not sure. I don't want to speak too much on this as an American, because it doesn't really matter what my opinion on this is. It's Canada here that I want to learn the opinions of on this. Yeah, so Canada shares the monarch with several other Commonwealth realms, like Australia, New Zealand, the UK. Yeah, okay. Good. So that's kind of what I understood. I'm glad to have that refresher. And just a few points here. I asked ChatGPT or AI to tell me a little bit about this topic before we dive into the meat of this video, which is a Reddit discussion where Canadians are going to give their opinion on exactly what they think of the monarchy and being a part of it. But before that, just a few things so that it's all clear for me. Canada's relationship with the British monarchy has evolved over time. The statute in Westminster in 1931 granted Canada full legislative independence from the UK. So that was a long time ago. Canada Act of 1982 further solidified Canada's autonomy, giving it full control over its constitution. Public opinion, this is kind of funny. It's like the internet AI is giving what it thinks the Canadian public opinion on this is, so why not? Public opinion regarding the monarchy varies in Canada. That makes sense. Some Canadians are strong proponents of the monarchy, while others advocate for the country to become a republic with an elected head of state, this is subject of an ongoing debate and discussion in Canada. That's interesting, and that actually makes total sense to me. I actually wonder how much of a hot topic issue this is. How frequently or fervently is this debated in Canada? Or does it kind of come and go? Or I'm sure with the change with King Charles coming into power, there was a discussion about this. So, the Commonwealth Nations. So Canada is part of the Commonwealth Nations? Association of 56 countries that were once part of the British Empire. So that's so Canada's still part of the Commonwealth, by the sound of it, and that's still there's ties there between Canada and the British Empire, and I'm just wondering, what do Canadians think of that? So I found this little Reddit discussion which kind of sparked this whole idea in my mind. I wanted to learn about this discussion, and very, very eloquently stated here, how many of you Canadians actually take the royalty seriously? I'm not sure what that means, taking it seriously, but I guess I interpret it as, do you want the royalty to be a part of Canada? How many of you are actually serious about the monarchy? Personally, I treat them like a household cat. Yeah, we say... What? Yeah, we say they rule the house, but they are more like that Dakana or avocado statue that I have to dust every now and then. Oh my god, what an analogy. To treat the monarchy, that seriously seems off. I tend to notice it's usually people from the third world or Europe who takes the whole royalty thing seriously and talks about abolishing the monarchy or God saves the king and all that. Okay, interesting. So now we're gonna listen to some opinions from Canadians on what exactly they think about the royalty. I'm more concerned about your cat. Our cat does rule the house, and we bask in his glory. Okay. Okay. I recognize the constitutional monarchy, but don't really think about it or care about it. I gotta say, without seeming rude, that is kind of what I expected right there. Like, it's a part of Canadian history, an important part, a meaningful part. And, is there a reason to put it in the past, like get rid of it? Or is it just, this makes it sound like Canadians might, recognize it, be like, cool, that's a part of our history in our country, and then don't really think much about it. It doesn't affect Canadians' lives day to day. That's literally the crux of it. It doesn't really affect anything. So is there a reason to change it? Agreed. Also, I will say, my caring level dropped incredibly after Elizabeth died. I had respect for her. Charles, not so much. Ooh, now we're getting into the spicy opinions here. As far as I'm concerned, Queen Elizabeth was the last monarch of the British Empire. Wow, okay. This is interesting stuff. Again, as an American, I really don't have any stake in this. It's just purely, I'm just sitting on the outside, interesting. I don't have any real thought. It doesn't affect me. So this is stuff I've never gotten to hear about. I actually dislike the monarchy, and I want it abolished. However, it's down on my list of priorities for things I'd like fixed about Canada. Elderly people seem to really like the monarchy for some reason. Yeah, I guess, maybe just because it's something, especially Queen Elizabeth, that's been around for a lot of people, Canadians, and of course, British people, their entire life. It's this thing, this constant that's been there, maybe a comfort. And, of course, Queen Elizabeth was really beloved. And so there's obviously no issues there, and it only seems like this is even becoming a discussion now that she's passed away. But yeah, so we have a Canadian here that dislikes it, wants it abolished. Perhaps it's true that people who have had Elizabeth and the monarchy around your entire life just think it's kind of nice, sentimental, comfort, perfectly reasonable. And it's not doing anything negative to Canada. Maybe that's another huge point. It just doesn't seem to be doing anything bad for Canada. It's just kind of this nice, interesting thing. So why get rid of it? Unless you have, at the core of your being, you just have a problem with the idea of royalty and kings and queens existing. If you have a problem with that whole concept in general, then I could see you maybe being against it, actively against it. You can mostly count out Quebec on this. What's up with these monarch questions? You can count out Quebec. Why is that? Is Quebec, like, I know Quebec is like its own culture within the culture of Canada. French, it's very different. Is it technically not like part of the constitutional monarchy of Canada? Or I don't see how you would count Quebec out on this. I don't know. Maybe there might be something there I don't understand. A minority of Canadians are actual monarchists. Monarchists. I've never even heard it that way. I've heard of anarchists. Now there's monarchists. Yeah, monarchist. Your average Canadian just doesn't care. Maybe that's true. That's what I keep hearing. I'm personally anti-monarch. Ooh. Other than being spoiled, they're nothing like my house cat, whom I actually love dearly. I love this house cat analogy that has been dragged into this discussion. Wow, so actually a couple Canadians here who are actively against it, like, they don't like the idea of kings and queens, and I understand that, stuff based on the circumstances of your birth and nothing else, nothing to do with your merit or what you've done personally or accomplished. You're just born a king or queen. I feel like maybe a lot of Americans share that attitude of like, it's 2023, almost 2024. Are we really having kings and queens around still? Like, and the defense of that, I guess, is it is like this incredibly kind of cherished and important part of history, which is still alive today. So maybe you'd be ashamed to get rid of it? I don't know. The only queen I care about had Freddie Mercury. Indeed. Okay. I cared about Lizzie Windsor. She was like my favorite grandmother. I don't give two flying Fs about her son. Wow. I mean, I think Reddit and this discussion skews, like it has younger people leaving comments, so I know these might be a bit biased. It seems to be a lot of commenters here saying they don't particularly like the monarchy and that it's part of Canada or that it exists. But I know that maybe the older demographic isn't being represented here as much. I don't know. I was concerned about that, knowing that it is Reddit. Comparing them to the household cat is hilarious. Spot on. F 'em. The Queen has been against me on every traffic ticket. The Queen has been against me on every traffic ticket I've gotten. She never even shows up to court, but they still pass. Is the Queen like technically on traffic tickets? Or we have a constitutional monarchy. It's the whole basis of our system of government. Having said that, I don't really care or pay much attention to it. I watched the coronation of the Queen's funeral just because these events are so rare. I was curious to see how it went. I don't care about the weddings, their personal lives, or feuds. That seems to be the other prevailing thought here. I think... Okay, so I have a much better idea now. This was kind of what I was maybe leaning towards thinking Canadians would say. A lot of Canadians commenting here, at least in this discussion, that they just don't care one way or the other. Not too many that said they, were totally in favor of it. Most just said they don't care if it exists or not, or if it's part of Canada or not. And a couple people who were actively against it and want it gone. So that's actually really interesting. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like what the AI said when I looked at that earlier, where it's kind of a split in Canada of people who don't care, that do care, want it gone, want it to stay. Seems like there's a lot of opinions on it, and as of now, nothing's really... And like another commenter said, actually, this is not the biggest issue in Canada. This is not what Canada needs to be worried about or focusing on. So for that reason, I don't think this is going to change anytime soon. So either way, I thought this was really, really interesting topic. Totally something outside the realm of America and what Americans like myself know about or talk about. So this was fun to hear this perspective on the monarchy and royalty and Canadians being a part of that and if they like it. So I enjoyed this quite a bit. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with what do you think about the Canadian constitutional monarchy and being a part of that, and what do you think about that? Feel free to leave a comment, and if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canada and Canadian culture, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.